What's up, everybody? Welcome back for episode 38 of The Cut. I am your host, Christian Williams. I am here with Randy Hall. Randy, how you doing?
I am doing pretty good. Don't work tonight, so I'm super happy about that.
Okay, hey, that's good news, dude.
Of course. And I only have one more frickin' discussion board to do this semester. Don't know why. Have to do that. Just saying.
You're probably reviewing the class, right?
It's probably something stupid like that. I had to do one this morning after I got off work. I stayed up till 9 a.m. I got off at 6, by the way. Doing that, and it was literally just, we had to summarize our paper in like 4 paragraphs and then comment on other people's papers that wrote about the same things we did. I just hate school so much. I don't understand what all this is.
Hey, dude, you're almost done.
Almost.
It'll be over soon. Don't go back for your master's. It's fucking garbage. I'm
not. You've complained way too much for me to want to go.
Yes, accurate. So before we talk for 20 minutes about this, thank you guys for joining us. If you guys want to support the podcast, you can shoot us an email. officialcutpod@gmail.com is our email. You can also ask us questions on there. We are always available. Also, make sure you follow, like, and share us at The Cut FFL on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We do have a website, officialcutpod.wordpress.com. Check that out. We've got our consensus rankings up. We have Nathan Joyce. He's written 3 articles this week regarding DFS plays and some pricing analysis. So check that out. And make sure you guys subscribe. And if you leave us a review, Randy will bring his beautiful voice Monday night, and he will read that review. So go review. Don't base it off of this episode. Listen to the one before.
Listen to the professional ones, not the ones where it's just me and Christian.
Yeah, drinking on a Saturday night.
It's a Friday night first up. Well, I guess it's Saturday morning now. You alcoholic.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Yes, it is a Friday night, dude. It's been a long week.
Man. Let me
tell my Santa Claus story really quick. Super off topic, not a fantasy football thing at all. But I work for a county that does calls from Santa, and I wanted to help my buddy out because he needed some volunteers. And I was told that I was just going to be managing volunteers. I was going to help him with like setup and stuff. And instead, he made me act like Santa Claus. I had to be one of the Santas. And the first call I made, I had a little girl tell me that she wanted me to bring her dead grandparents back from the grave because I was Santa Claus. What the hell, dude? What do you say?
That is such an awful situation. Also, by the way, where would you be bringing them back from besides the grave? But whatever.
Maybe they're in an urn. I don't know.
Wow. Sick burn, bro. I mean, okay, that was in bad taste. I'm sorry.
Yes, I am very... Like, I wanted to be like, yes, I would love to bring your grandparents back, but also I can't because I'm not even fucking Santa Claus. But I couldn't obviously say that, so I just sat there. And
dude, I feel so bad for that. I'm not sure how anyone would react in that situation. Like, me being I'm way too sarcastic of a person, so I don't trust what I would say in that situation. Because I would just panic and be like, oh, okay,
Oh, I panicked, man.
Santa's not real. Hang up. Just run away. Sprint from the phone.
Well, that was the first call I made. I fully expected it to be the last call, but I got put on some more. They went a little better, but fuck that program. Shout out Seth. If you run that next year, I'm not doing it. Fuck that. Excuse my French on this episode. All right, let's get into it. This is our DFS episode.
Why do these intros for when it's just us go so off the rail?
Yeah, I don't know, man. But they're funny and interesting, and I hope you guys like them. And if not, tell us to fuck off on our Twitter or our email, officialcutpod@gmail.com. Okay, let's get into it. This is our DFS pod. We go through and make a GPP DraftKings lineup. We have had very little success this year, but we've talked about all the right guys. We always pivot in the middle of the episode. You'll, I'm sure, hear that today. We have some guys picked out that we'd like to place in this lineup. I'm sure they won't end up in the final lineup because that's how we roll here. So let's get into it. Let's look at some quarterbacks for the week. I know that Jameis Winston is my quarterback one this week. So it is confirmed that Jameis is starting this weekend. Randy, what do you think of Jameis?
I mean, I hope he does really good. I'm relying on him in one league for sure in the playoffs, so I really need a good performance. But I don't know, man. For DFS purposes, I think he's a good play, but he's definitely higher priced, and so is his stack with Godwin. Definitely the highest price of any of them. I do love him this week, though. I just think for DFS, we may want to pivot. I love Tannehill this week. He was my star of the week. Obviously, he's jumped in price for good reason, but he keeps performing, and he really only has one target to go to, so it's kind of easy to pick his stack.
Yeah, I mean, I think that his 2.5 times value would be 16 and a quarter of a point, 16.25. That is almost a guaranteed against the Houston secondary. They're trash. They have acquired a bunch of players and haven't gotten better. So I am 100% down to put Tannehill in all of my lineups this week. Obviously diversified, don't do that. One guy I do want to talk about though is our boy Baker Mayfield. He's valued at 6,400 this week. He's very, very lightly owned. He's going against the 32nd ranked defense against quarterbacks. I mean, everything's lining up for Baker, and he's really not an expensive option. We have him listed as a mid-tier guy.
Yeah, and people are off him because he didn't have a fantastic week last week. And the Bengals have actually put up some decent performances against quarterbacks of late. Obviously, I don't think it's to the greatest quarterbacks or the greatest teams of that night with weapon-wise, but still, I mean, I'm fine playing Baker, especially pairing him with Jarvis. I know you discussed Odell. I think that's a little bit more volatile. I'm not sure he even has more upside anymore, so it's kind of one of the things where I'd rather take the safe player that's not that high of ownership anyways.
I think the upside with Odell is just we know how talented he is. And the thing is everyone's been saying every week, oh, this will probably be Odell's breakout game. I completely understand that like the safer play is to just not touch Odell, and I'm 100% cool with that because I don't like being super risky with the stack at least because we got burned by it last week. We stacked Fitzpatrick and Parker went out.
Yeah,
and Odell's already hurt coming into the game, so I agree. I kind of don't want to touch that after thinking about it a little more.
yeah, and it's people continually after people have big games, they continually drop ownership percentage for that next week because they just assume they won't do it again, and they assume it's going to go somewhere else. Somebody's going to target key at him. Jarvis has been doing this for weeks on and weeks on. It's been like 8 weeks in a row that he's been great. And I don't think it stops against a secondary that's worthless, honestly. I mean,
And
realistically, they
corner, right?
huh?
They just cut a corner before the last game, right?
Yes.
So
they haven't drafted well in that secondary in a long time, and it shows.
yeah,
I mean, it's just like the Dolphins game where both could have great games. Odell had a pretty good game, semi breakout, and Landry had a better game. And I just think I'd rather take the safer play there.
yeah.
Moving
sure.
down slightly, I think Matt Ryan's kind of a smash play here with Odell, who could not Odell, Julio, who's been consistent, getting 8 targets no matter who's in his second in his wideout core with him. Once Sanu left, it hasn't dipped below 8 targets, and I don't think there's a way with Ridley out that it dips below 11 targets. And if I'm getting Julio at his kind of lowest price of the season at an increased target share against a defense who is out everyone. They're out 2 starting corners, including Sherman, and I'm just not really scared of them right now. Their pass rush can still get to them, but they're out guys there too. I just don't think they're scary this week. They got burned last week, obviously, by a great team and a great quarterback. But Michael Thomas dominated, and I'm not going to sit here and say if Michael Thomas did it, Julio is not that caliber.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I also think that while Matt Ryan obviously isn't Drew Brees, Matt Ryan is a very, very competent quarterback. Like, the dude won an MVP a few years ago. I talked about it on Thursday's episode. He's been getting better each week since he returned from that injury where Matt Schaub had to take over. And since he's kind of had his weapons back, I'm interested to see how he looks without Ridley also out there. But like you said, the San Francisco secondary looks like it's going to be pretty beat up this week. And in that case, like I agree that Matt Ryan and Julio Jones is the smash play here.
Yeah. Obviously, I think Hooper's a good target there as well. He didn't have a great game last week, but he was definitely involved. 6 targets. He only had 2 catches, but still, he's definitely needs touchdowns maybe, as he's still coming back to full health to be really relevant. And the 49ers are a tough matchup against tight ends, but again, they're hurt. But like I said, I'd much rather play Julio there. So I think for me, it's Tannehill with Brown, Baker with Jarvis, or Matt Ryan with Julio.
Yeah, and out of those, I mean, I think I'd the fan in me wants to go Baker and Jarvis, but the fickle guy that doesn't want to spend his money and lose his money.
Good thing I'm paying for it.
Well, exactly, but I want to go Ryan and Julio, so let's just plug that in.
Do it.
And then you know me, dude. We're jumping to defense. Let's do it.
Okay, you do that while I set this lineup.
Sounds good. So there are a few defenses that I actually really like this week. And they're pretty much punts. So the Broncos defense at 2,000. Randy, I don't know how you feel about any of these defenses. We haven't really talked about it. Broncos defense, they get to the quarterback. They have a good secondary. I know they're going against Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, but I mean, the Broncos defense to me it's obviously not the Patriots, but it's similar to the Patriots, and the Patriots were pretty limited in what they could do last week. And in that way, I mean, it's built similarly. It's not the caliber, but
see, man, I think I would rather play the Kansas City defense in that aspect of that game. I'm not real happy about trying to play a Broncos defense and just hope that Mahomes doesn't throw for 350 and a couple touchdowns.
That's fair. The only thing is the pricing difference. Like, you can get the Broncos at 2,000 at a basic punt
for a reason.
Right, but I mean, to hit value, that's what 5 points. You don't think that the Broncos can get 5 points coming off in the last 4 weeks? 15, 8, 4, 9
against who?
Minnesota, Buffalo, the Chargers, and the Texans.
Yeah, so teams that perennially score around 17 or 20, and they dominated the Texans last week early, so that's kind of a little bit of a wash. And obviously, there's a ton of garbage time there. I'm not going to say that, but
I agree.
I understand the theory. It's just so hard to bet that when, dude, I just don't know. In the same aspect, it's like Cardinals are okay one in case they somehow get to Baker, but their pass rush is really weak. I think the Lions are a good matchup this week, just because it's Jameis. Jameis can still be QB1 this week and still allow the Lions to be a top 5 defense. So,
yeah, that's a defense I'm playing in multiple places this week. So I agree with you there.
Other than that, I'm not super happy about a lot of teams this week. I definitely am a fan of the Eagles this week. I'm playing them in 2 playoff matchups.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely tough against the run, and Haskins is going to have to throw the ball 30-plus times, and, I mean, so far, that's shown that it can get points for your defense. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
obviously the Patriots defense is going to be good against Cincinnati, but Dalton's been looking good.
Yeah. I agree with that. I'm a big Andy Dalton guy. Out of the ones that we just talked about, I would go with the Lions or the Eagles. And I personally have the Eagles in more lineups this week. I want to exploit that Redskins matchup.
Okay.
I've been doing it with my season long, week to week. I've been trying to stream defenses against Dwayne Haskins, which sucks. Like being from Ohio, you want him to succeed, and he's getting better.
Yeah, but their line isn't great. They just lost their arguably best running back. They haven't really developed a second target from Terry McLaurin, so I mean, it's not like the Eagles have to cover much.
True. Very true. So do you want to put the Eagles on the lineup then?
I say we put the Eagles in the lineup, and if we need money down the line, move to the Lions.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, you go to the next spot. I put that.
Yeah, so I like to knock out the two cheaper options, the defense and the tight end. There are a lot of cheap tight end plays this week. Ian Thomas is the one big one. That's Sean's start of the week. We have to correct that because we thought Greg Olsen would be on the field this weekend. So Sean is claiming that Ian Thomas is going to be big time this week. He only needs 9.5 points to hit 2.5 times value, which is what you look for, but he's very highly owned. So that's someone I would kind of pivot from.
I agree, but with defense and tight ends, you don't necessarily have to get super cute with ownership percentages because they're such cheap options, at least in the cheap way. I mean, you were right about Ian Thomas to an extent last week, but I think I would rather play Higbee personally.
100% agree. Yeah. So Higbee's valued at 3,900. He's owned a lot less, and
still high for a tight end, but it's because he's cheap.
Yes. Gerald Everett's out again, and that's official. Higbee has gotten work in the last, 3 weeks now?
Yeah.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. So he got some work against Baltimore, but obviously that was a rout. So there wasn't much work to be had. And then
there's a lot of work done. That's for sure.
And then the last 2 weeks he has over 20 fantasy points, and he's still only 3,900 this week. I almost feel like it's a lock. You have to play Higbee this week.
Yeah, I'll bring it up now. I was gonna wait till running backs. My show name today is Girly with a Heart, and it's just they seem to have adapted their play style somewhat back to what they hearkened to last year, and that is run, 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 and more run. Feed Gurley the ball. And before Everett got hurt, Higbee started to increase his snap share because he's a much better blocker in my eyes. They're coming out in heavy personnel. Cooper Kupp's snap percentages last week was because he is not a great blocker. And for his skill set, they need him healthy for sure. And if that means not putting him out on every blocking down, why not do that? Just because if he comes out and you know it's a passing play, that doesn't matter. Cooper Kupp can get open. So that doesn't affect anything. And there's been rumblings coming out of there that he just isn't as good a blocker as Reynolds or Woods. And that's fine. I mean, not everyone's a great blocker. Doesn't mean he's not a good wide receiver.
Yeah.
Not everyone's Julio Jones out there just trying to break necks.
Right. So let me ask you this question though. I see a lot of people in the fantasy community. We're pretty active in the fantasy community on Twitter, but I've seen it all over the place. They think that Kupp is going to have a return to form this week. Do you think Kupp stays off the field enough to where I know you're talking putting Gurley, and now we're talking about maybe putting Gurley and Higbee in this lineup? And if Kupp has a big day, I think we're fucked. So
why is that?
because I don't think all three of those guys could be. I guess let me rephrase. I don't think Cup and Higbee are gonna have big fantasy days.
I mean, to see like Higby, we need 12
Oh,
points,
just over,
11
yeah, just
points.
over 11. Yeah, which I mean, he's had over 20 the last 2 weeks. So even
I'm
if he dips, like he's probably not gonna dip that much, right?
No, he won't dip that much. See, I'm gonna bank off of numbers here, and also numbers are telling you what you just said. Fantasy Twitter's all over Cup this week. That means ownership's up. That means expectations up, and maybe they do force it to Cup. But have they ever done that?
Not particularly.
I mean,
I mean,
he's dominated. Don't get me wrong, but they've never gone into a week and been like, okay, it's Cup.
I agree. And they have so many weapons that's why they don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think Sean McVay is a guy to overcorrect his mistake, which
No.
it wasn't a mistake. They beat the Seahawks. And that I think is important to remember that they beat what I feel is the best team in the NFC. I feel like the Seahawks, they have a shit defense. I don't care. I still think that they have a middle of the road defense, not
Yeah.
shit. Let me take it back. But I still think they're the best team in the NFC, and the Rams went in there and they just absolutely dominated the game with Cup on the bench. I think you might see that again this week, which is why I think I would put both Gurley and Higbee in this lineup and be fine with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Obviously, I think we've talked ourselves into locking Higbee in. But like I said, why talk about the reasons we want Higbee and not bring up the reasons I personally want Gurley? Because it's the same thing. They're in the game together.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's talk about a couple more tight ends. These are obviously the cheaper option guys. If you can find a cheap option at tight end that you think is going to be super productive, then you can probably go for it. But if you want to spend up and get a Travis Kelce, a George Kittle, a Zach Ertz especially this week, then I would
even
go
Dallas
for
Goedert.
it. Yep, 100%. I agree with that, and to an extent, even Darren Waller. He's a little on the cheaper end compared to those first three, but I mean those guys are all good plays. Kittle's pretty highly owned. Ertz is actually his ownership's going to keep going up.
Yeah, it's just because they weren't sure who's playing necessarily, and I don't know, man. His ownership's going to go up, but even the weeks where Alshon was just simply out for basic injury, his ownership didn't spike that much until the second big week in a row.
Yes, but coming off the 2 touchdown performance, I think that it's going to go up a little more.
Remember what I said. Good performance, people pivot.
True. But with a guy with Zach Ertz's name, do you think that changes this week?
I personally think his ownership goes up. Just because as you get going, if you can find the money, why not? That's kind of the thing here.
Yeah, and that's something that maybe we could look at because I do like Ertz. It's him, Goddard, and freaking Greg Ward, who we'll talk about later, I'm sure. Although it's not looking like we might need to put Greg Ward in this lineup, but
doesn't mean we won't.
It doesn't mean we won't. There's only a few targets. That actually brings up another point. How do you feel about Boston Scott this week? I don't even know what he's valued at. I haven't even looked at it.
I don't love it. People overhyped him because they just assumed Sanders wasn't going to play, but he even came back last week. It's not like he's hurt.
I agree, but because of the limited targets, I feel like Sanders and Scott could be on the field at times. Do you not think
possible, but in that aspect, are you assuming they go to Scott more than Sanders?
I think they go to both of them, a la Lindsey, Royce Freeman.
But they're usually not in the field together.
Maybe not together, but they're both usually somewhat productive. I mean, maybe I have a little early season bias there because they were at the beginning of the year.
I do agree that there's a chance that he gets enough workload at his price point to be valuable, but like you said, that's if you need the money. And at that point, if you're playing Ward and Scott and like Everett and Ronald Jones, at that point, just play McCaffrey, play Dalvin Cook, and just get it over with. Play Michael Thomas. I mean, why are we making?
Yeah,
You don't have to argue with me if you can get the top 5 players in fantasy in your lineup and get just enough value that it pays off for the other guy.
Yeah. I think the moral of the story here is that the Eagles have a bunch of shitty options. So roll with Zach Ertz if you can find the money.
Yeah.
So we locked in Tyler Higbee. We do have another couple guys listed here: Hunter Henry, David Njoku, Mike Gesicki. Hunter Henry is obviously the safer of those 3. I like Mike Gesicki this week. I'll always say that I think that he's a good play. He had 2 weeks in a row, then he sucked when I made him my start of the week. He's not my start of the week this week, so he should be good again. Classic. David Njoku is probably the riskiest tight end play this week.
Yeah, but surprise. I mean, I know it's not like he had a good game last week. I mean, he gave the other team the ball, but
he was down. But yeah,
he was. But it's whatever. Either way, they still won. It's fine. Either way, it's the Cardinals. It's hard to see people not just smash it. People smashed the tight end against the Cardinals the week after Higbee because they assumed Higbee was just a luck because it was the Cardinals. No, Higbee's a good tight end. And I said that when you brought up starting Everett earlier in the year, I was like, they have 2 pretty good tight ends. I don't know if I want to pick one. And obviously Everett did go off for a couple weeks, so I was wrong at that point. But that's what I'm saying. Higbee did well because Higbee's a decent tight end.
Yeah.
And
the concern I would have,
I don't like Njoku's hands, so I personally wouldn't play him, but he's got low ownership.
I'm gonna throw something out of left field here. I think the tight end to play in Cleveland this week is actually Ricky Seals-Jones. It's a revenge game too, which no one really thinks of that. But Ricky Seals-Jones did get a nice long catch last week, and that was after Njoku, whatever that was, fell to his back and gave up the ball. But I don't want to play Njoku this week. We have him on our list. We wanted to talk about him.
Njoku did get targeted in the red zone a couple times too. So, like I said, he's a good play, but you have to understand the risk with him. He's just coming back. His hands have been off all year and last year, in all honesty.
And Freddie Kitchens' red zone offense is one of the worst I've ever seen.
Trash.
All right, so let's put Higbee into the lineup now that we've talked about
for 10 minutes.
97 guys. Yeah, way too long on tight ends. So let's move to the running back spot. We have 59.60 average remaining per player. So that's about where we normally sit.
We're flexible.
And we also have Julio in our lineup this time. Normally our stack is a little bit cheaper. There are a ton of guys I like at running back this week. I think I have 20 here listed.
I think the question is, the first question is, is Josh Jacobs playing? Because if Josh Jacobs is playing and they actually think he's fully healthy, Josh Jacobs is a pretty good play. I think even in that aspect, DeAndre Washington is a decent play, but maybe not with Jacobs as much. Maybe Rashard's a better play there. But if Jacobs is fully out or they give him a snap count, DeAndre Washington's kind of a smash at his price. He only needs just under 12 points to hit value. I mean, I'm happy with that, especially after last week. He didn't look dominant, but with that Raider line, you don't need to be dominant to be a decent play.
I agree.
But besides that point, we have to choose from these top 5 running backs that you have here. We don't have Christian McCaffrey because, we just...
I'm sick of spending the money on Christian McCaffrey, man.
Listen, he's worth it. We don't have the money. We don't have the money.
Fair. So the guys that we do have listed: Dalvin Cook at 8,900, Nick Chubb at 7,900. That is a huge drop. Saquon Barkley at 77, Leonard Fournette at 76, and Chris Carson at 75. But the highest owned running back on the week with good reason.
Yes.
It's hard to eat that chalk though, in my opinion.
He's
because
he's a lock for cash lineups.
100%. If he flops there and you chose someone else, you're in a good spot. I think that he's going to have one of the higher ownerships of the entire season with the matchup and just what running backs have been able to do against that team, against the Panthers. So
I am very happy that I have Chris Carson in a playoff matchup this week, but I am avoiding him in non-cash games, I think. Maybe one tournament play I'll put him in. If I have extra cash, maybe, but like it's hard with this much chalk. This is as much as McCaffrey usually has. And
yeah,
I mean, he has more than McCaffrey, man. Like
by a lot. I think people are starting to feel like I do, and that they don't want to spend up on McCaffrey because he really has. I mean, his value has come down a little bit. He's valued at 10,000 this week. He was 10.5 last week, and he didn't hit it, and then he didn't hit his value again. So let's talk about the guys on the list. Dalvin Cook, it's always a good play. He's got a really good matchup against the Chargers, who have actually been pretty bad against running backs. I don't necessarily know that we have enough money to spend up and get him unless we go someone super, super cheap at wide receiver.
listen, man, can you give me a reason besides the money to not play Dalvin Cook? Because
No,
that's kind of what I want to know here. Because
no.
Madison's hurt, Cook's not, and Thielen's most likely back, so that kind of muddies the water between Thielen and Rudolph. I don't think I would play either one, even maybe in season long. Diggs has the hardest matchup. He could beat that matchup. Like I think I'm playing him in Dynasty, but beside the point, I think they're just gonna feed Cook here. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Um,
I'm not necessarily saying we probably don't have. We could probably save $1,000 and be much helpful to us. I'm just saying.
yeah, or we could just pick up the scraps at our last wide receiver position and our flex. I mean, I know you really want to play Gurley. Obviously, Mr. Gurley Hart.
I do. I do want to say Sanders is an okay pivot there. I don't trust Lindsey this week. I don't think he's been necessarily great. And the last time they played the Chiefs, it was definitely more Royce Freeman day. I understand the snap percentages were different then, but in passing downs, in third downs, it's Freeman out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're down, it's going to be Freeman, I think. So I think Freeman's an okay cheap play. Mostert,
My boy.
I don't know what to do there, man. Even in season long, I picked him up in the one league, even though I didn't need him. Just because I needed a running back, but I wasn't in the playoffs in that one.
Oh, I was.
I just didn't want the championship game to have him. Sean would have ended up with him somehow, and he would have been mad that I didn't get him, so I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I respect it.
So,
also, just really quick on Mostert, Shanahan came out and said that he is the lead back.
yeah.
He has earned the lead role. And
he needs 13 points. So that means with just a decent game, he needs a touchdown. Can you guarantee that? That's kind of what it comes down to there. Because even the last 2 weeks, he's been really good. He didn't have that many carries. He didn't have that many receptions.
No, he didn't. He just had monster plays. And I don't know that you can rely on that, but I do like Shanahan coming out and saying this is our guy because as much coach talk goes around, I feel like Shanahan's one of the more honest coaches in the NFL. And if he says he's the lead guy, then I fully expect Tevin Coleman to be on the pine the entire game.
Yeah, most likely. And Breida's going to be out there. Breida has to be out there. He's just such an explosive guy. He's going to rotate in. Jesus. I don't know. Sorry. I have something on TV. I'm just going to say I want Gurley. I understand if he's got higher ownership than anyone in this little group here. I understand if you want to pivot. I'm playing him elsewhere. We have Higbee. I get the lineup reasoning why you want to move. So why don't we pick one of these top guys and then see what we have?
So let me just talk on Saquon really quick too. He needs to hit 19.25 to hit value. He's only done that 3 times all season. I don't want to play Saquon as much as the matchup is really good. I could see Wayne Gallman fucking taking a touchdown away from him or something, and that being the reason he doesn't hit value, and that would really piss a lot of people off. Fournette, I like. He's got a pretty good matchup, but the Raiders, if they're any good at anything, it's stopping running backs. So,
But 30 carries a game. I mean,
yeah,
he's gonna get yards.
he is. But out of those guys, I really think Dalvin Cook is the way to go, man.
Yeah, personally for me, I think it's Cook or Chubb. I think there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this group. It's Cook or Chubb.
Yep. And
Cook's the one that doesn't have competition in the backfield right now.
Yeah, I want to go Cook.
Yeah, I think Madison most likely will play. I don't think he's officially ruled out. I'm just saying they're going to be a playoff team. They're not rushing anyone back from injury, guys. They're just not. It'd be dumb. All right, well, from this, do we want to go middle group, low group? What do you want to do here?
Yo, I'm going to be honest. We have tried this pick a top guy and then pick kind of a middle or low guy at running back.
Yeah.
I know we have Gurley listed as a middle guy. And
he's a very low top guy, basically.
Essentially. So he's at 6,000. I want to put Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley, and Julio Jones all in this lineup and figure it out from there. What do you think?
Yay! Randy wins out in the end.
Yes, exactly. So that would still leave us about 5,000 per player.
How do we have more money this week with the names? We have Matt Ryan, Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley, Julio Jones, and the defense facing the Washington Redskins. And we have more money. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I have no idea. Let's knock out these other 2 receivers so we can look at our flex. Because there are some guys that we can go to. Here's one guy that's sitting around our price point right now. His name is Darius Slayton. He's my wide receiver start of the week. He only needs to get just less than 12 points, and I think that's a lock. What do you think of Darius Slayton? I know you're not as high on him as I am.
I've come around on Slayton, like as a receiver, especially going forward. He's just proven himself, and it's mainly because remember when Barkley was coming back and Tate was coming back and Ingram was coming back from the injury, I was worried who was getting the targets, who was going to move to the outside and be that guy, and Slayton was that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And look how valuable it is to not be trying to soak up everyone's targets in the middle. You're the one guy that's not sitting in the middle of the field, and you're super valuable. So I don't hate it. I mean, do you know off the top of your head how he did last week?
Yeah, I sure do. So he scored 35.4 fantasy points. He had 5 receptions for 154 yards with 2 touchdowns. The 2 touchdowns obviously probably won't happen again. I will acknowledge that.
But he's done that before. It's kind of the same rank defense, I guess.
And they're going against the Dolphins. So, I mean, this is a play. It doesn't matter if Jones plays. It doesn't matter if Eli plays. I actually don't know the update on Daniel Jones. But he has shown that he can do it with either quarterback because either quarterback is willing to throw downfield to him.
How much does he need? So, I hate it because his floor probably is about 10 points.
Yes.
And he needs just above that to hit value.
But we have so many big names that
he's the lowest ownership there too.
Which I think that's
Let's do it.
You want to put Slayton in? Let's go.
It's cheaper. If we have to pivot, we have to pivot, but I don't hate it.
I love it. So here's what I want to do.
I love it.
I absolutely love it. So there are a lot of like cheap wide receiver options that could flop, but you have to go with some risk here in tournaments. So in that sense, we have 5,100 per player remaining. There aren't a lot of guys sitting around that price point at wide receiver or running back really that I love. So I want to spend up on another guy.
Yeah, semi-close that price point. I think McLaurin and Kirk can be pretty good plays this week. They're just kind of risky. I think I trust Gallup, Sutton to an extent, and AJ Brown a little bit higher.
Mhm.
But I know you're kind of looking lower.
Yeah. So if we were to spend up per se,
Per sack.
so we've got Amari at only 6,500 this week, and he's coming off of back-to-back 16-plus point games. So he's valued at 6,500.
But
You've got
he got bailed out last week.
He did, and he's going against the tough Rams defense. They're ranked 12th. Right below him, though, is Devontae Parker, who was full contact in practice. He looks like he'll be playing. I know we got burned by him last week, but it's a concussion. It's unless he's Sterling Shepard's, he's not gonna like pull his hamstring like Adam Thielen. So he seems like a safer play, especially at only 6,400. Parker's been awesome for a long time up until he got hurt last week.
Yeah, I agree.
You sound so sad, dude.
It's because we got burned, man.
I know.
And the other thing is, if we spend that far up, I know it's not much more than what I just said. Don't get me wrong. It leaves us with not a lot. I mean, it leaves us with 38 for a flex,
which is pretty gross. But you've got
which is pretty bad. I mean,
let's talk about
Justin
Watson though. So that he's 3,700, and he had set almost 17 fantasy points last week when Mike Evans went down. And we love Jameis this week. And Jameis, we talked about it before. I think you and Sean both said Perriman over him, but maybe you didn't. Sean definitely likes Perriman instead of Watson. However, I hope Josh Dieter doesn't listen to this because I'm playing him in Dynasty and he has Justin Watson on his taxi squad. But I think Justin Watson's a really good play at 3,700 this week.
I don't hate it. It's the problem. So at these cheaper things here, you put in one and I put in two other ones. You put in Watson. I put in N'Keal Harry, who had a touchdown his first week. Should have had a touchdown last week. We won't get into that. And if he gets a touchdown, he hits value no matter what. And then even cheaper than that is Greg Ward, who had, I believe, 12 targets last week, and 11 of those were after Alshon went down. And if it wasn't for penalties, he would have been one of the top scorers on the week.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily hate it. At 3,000, he only needs just above 7 points.
And so
he gets three, if he gets 3 catches, he pretty much hits value.
Can I tell you a secret?
I don't know if I like this.
So if we put Greg Ward into our lineup, that leaves us with Kenny Golladay instead of Devontae Parker or whoever the hell we just had in there that I took out.
It was Devontae Parker. I like it. See, okay, so we're basically choosing between Watson and keeping Parker, or we choose between Ward and Golladay. And
my pick there is Ward and Golladay. You know how much I love Golladay. We talked about it Thursday. He's the only guy there. He's Sean's start of the week, which I have to laugh at because he's a top 10 wide receiver. Sorry, Sean, if you listen to this. But I mean, he's going up against the Bucs, man.
You're allowed to laugh at it. He always starts to bring it up whenever you pick it.
True.
You two always do this. Yes, Start of the week, Keenan Allen. Thanks. Start of the week, Devontae Adams. Oh, great job.
Listen,
you're doing great work. You're doing the Lord's work, really.
Hey, I haven't done it in a long time because you guys made fun of me. So we need to make fun of Sean long enough.
Deservedly so.
Yes, I agree. So, I mean, let me just read this lineup out loud for you if we plug in Ward and Golladay. Matt Ryan, Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley, Kenny Golladay, Julio Jones, Darius Slayton, Tyler Higbee, Greg Ward, and the Eagles. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. We can't lose.
Yeah, we can lose. That has been proven this year.
Accurate. sadly.
Oh, it's bad because I usually do so much better in one aspect than the other, and it's usually season long I do so much better. But last year I won every league I was in, and I won over $100 on DraftKings, only doing $1 to $5 bets. So
Yeah, man.
that's and and I've been getting railroaded this year.
Yeah, it's been rough. But like if you think of like even if you take the names off of those guys and you just look at their production, like I think if we went with Galladay and Ward, I think this is our best lineup to date, just with our running back tandem, our wide receiver tandem plus Slayton. I don't know, man. What do you think?
I like it, and that's what scared me because this year I just been wrong at certain aspects, and it's really annoying.
Well, what don't you like? And that way we can get it right.
So here's the thing: I don't necessarily love targeting people because other people around them got hurt, and in that aspect, we have two guys, three guys technically with Ward. So that's somewhat scary to me, but that's okay. I mean, that happens.
But you're
Uh,
also putting Julio in that aspect, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean Julio Jones is still Julio Jones, man.
yeah, I agree.
Okay. I mean,
I'm just saying. You asked why I felt a little off about it, man.
I
I just
know.
let you know, man.
So what could we do to fix this lineup in your eyes?
I don't think we could change much. I mean, we could get a little bit cheaper running back than Cook, maybe Chubb. We could get a little bit cheaper running back than Gurley, but we love Gurley and Cook. Why? I don't know why we necessarily need to pivot. Matt Ryan's one of the cheaper options, and we could go a little bit cheaper than Galladay, but even then, we're only slightly increasing. The only way we can pivot from like Galladay and Ward is if we also pivot from the Eagles defense back down the Lions to save some money. And at that point, we're reaching for about 4,800 or so, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel better about somebody at 4,800 necessarily than what we have? Because I don't necessarily do. I mean, we're talking like Mike Williams. We're talking like, I mean, DeAndre Washington would be nice, but we can't guarantee he's even going to get that many carries. Ronald Jones might be okay, but we can't guarantee he lays a hand on a block and he's in the game. So I'm not touching that.
Yeah.
We could go like cheaper guys for flex, like running backs like Laird, Royce Freeman, and Chris Thompson, who I think could get a lot of passing attempts this week and maybe help just because of the game scripts that are coming out there. Laird was actually in for 80% of the snaps last week and all the red zone snaps, so I do think he's a nice play. I'm playing him elsewhere.
As am I.
But I think this lineup for the guys that we wanted might be perfect. Honestly, the guys that we wanted going into this, we got. So
Yeah.
I can't really be mad.
And I think the riskiest thing is Greg Ward and maybe
Yeah.
Darius Slayton.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
so here's my thing with Slayton though. You said his floor is probably 10 points, and that's only 2 points off. We're gonna make that up elsewhere. That's almost a guarantee. It's just have we hit on the other big name guys? And I think it's a long shot that we didn't. Like I think we have more probability to walk away with money this time.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way that Galladay and Julio don't get 10 plus targets each, and it's hard to avoid that. It just is. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm playing Julio this week in at least one lineup. It's the cheapest you're ever going to get Julio, and I'm not going away from it. I did it the same time. I did it the same thing in my personal ones with Michael Thomas went under 7K for some dumb reason, and I played it and I won money. I think it's the same smash situation.
I have to agree. So let me just read this lineup one more time since we've talked about it for a significant amount of time here. Matt Ryan, Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley, Kenny Galladay, Julio Jones, Darius Slayton, Tyler Higbee, Greg Ward, and the Eagles defense. against Dwayne Haskins.
The Greg Ward always gives me chills.
Yep. Yeah,
But
for sure.
I'm the one that brought him up, so
Yeah,
it's not.
you definitely added him to the doc too.
100% did.
All right. Well, if you're cool with that, let's do it.
I'm cool with it.
Beautiful. All right, Randy, let's get the hell out of here.
Ooh.
We've talked a long
First voice
time.
crack in the episode. I love it.
Hey, man.
You
Once
almost-
it gets to about 11:30 p.m., I'm cracking.
Oh, your voice is all tuckered out from your big day. Good for you.
Yep. All right, Randy, do you have anything to add before we get out of here other than making fun of me?
No, let's win some money. I'm gonna be drinking heavily in the Kalahari hot tub watching these games on Sunday. So let's get rowdy.
Nice,
like
dude. I'm jealous of that.
I'm gonna need it if Greg Ward doesn't catch a ball.
Hey, it's almost a lock that he catches.
Yeah.
One ball.
The highest of standards around here.
Hey, 1 for 70 and a touchdown.
I'm fine with that. We don't need anything else than that.
Exactly. One ball. All right. Let's get out of here. I hope you guys go win some money this week. Make sure you follow us at The Cut FFL on all of our socials. Make sure you subscribe. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, go leave us a review. We need some more to read, and it definitely helps us out on Apple for sure. It helps us move up the ranks a little bit, and that's what we want to do. We want to continue growing this podcast, so we're able to produce a lot of content for you guys and help you in your fantasy leagues.
Yeah, we've had a couple opportunities to help other people out through this podcast already, which is kind of ridiculous to me. I love doing that. That was part of the major reason I joined the fraternity with you, was to do that. And I would love to continue to do that.
Yeah, and I think we'll have another situation like that that maybe we'll talk about on Monday's episode. Before we get out of here too, we're not sure of our recording schedule next week. So if you've listened all the way through this one, thank you very much. Monday, we might be doing a long episode. We might split it up into 2 segments and release them on separate days. I'm not quite sure, but we will get it hammered out and we will announce it for sure Monday when we release.
Yeah.
And if you don't have anything else to add, Randy, let's get out of here. I am Christian Williams. I just said Randy's name, but that is Randy Hall right there. We'll hopefully be hearing from you guys that you want a bunch of freaking money. Let's do it. Peace.